Jake Morrison stood in the huge room where the Galactic Council met. The room was bigger than a football stadium. Hundreds of alien beings sat in rows that went up to the ceiling. Their strange voices filled the air as they talked to each other. Jake was the only human in the room. His dark blue suit looked simple compared to the colorful robes and shiny armor that the aliens wore. He had gray hair and tired eyes. For 15 years, he had been Earth's voice in this place. The tall crystal being called Zethka stood up. He was the leader of the council. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. The council has made its decision about humanity, Zethka said. His words echoed through the big room. Your species has become too dangerous. You build too many weapons. You take too much space. You do not listen to our rules. Jake did not move. He had expected this day to come. Earth's leaders had prepared him for it. Humanity must leave all worlds beyond your home system, Zethka continued. You have 30 days to take your people back to Earth and Mars. After that, no human ship will be allowed to leave your solar system. The alien delegates made different sounds. Some buzzed like insects. Others clicked their claws together. A few made musical notes. Jake knew these. Sounds meant they agreed with the decision. He looked at the beings who had once been Earth's friends. The blue-skinned Altarians sat in the front row. 5 years ago, Jake had helped them when a terrible disease killed millions of their people. Human doctors had found the cure. Now the Altarians would not look at him. The Centauri traders were there too. They had made billions of credits selling goods that human factories made. Their fat, slug-like bodies shook as they voted against humanity. The worst part was seeing the Zephyrians. These tall, thin beings with 4 arms had worked with humans on many science projects. Jake had thought they were real friends, but they also raised their hands to vote humanity out of the galaxy. We understand, Jake said. His voice was calm and quiet. Many aliens leaned forward to hear him better. They had expected him to shout or beg or make threats. Jake picked up his small computer tablet and walked toward the door. Behind him, Admiral Lisa Carter followed. She was a short woman with brown hair and hard eyes. She commanded all human military ships outside the solar system. The aliens watched them leave. Some looked surprised, others seemed worried. A few looked happy. As Jake and Lisa walked down the long hallway, their footsteps echoed on the smooth floor. Neither of them spoke until they reached their ship. The UES Liberty was a small but powerful warship. It had brought Jake to this meeting and would take him home. As they climbed aboard, Lisa looked back at the huge council building. They really did it, she said, after everything we've done for them. Jake nodded. They're afraid of us. They see how fast we grow and how strong we become. They think if they don't stop us now, we'll take over the galaxy. Maybe we would have, Lisa said with a small smile. The Liberty lifted off from the landing pad and flew up through the atmosphere. Soon they were in space, looking down at the world where aliens from 1,000 species came to make laws for the galaxy. Jake went to the communication room and sent a coded message to Earth. The message was short. Operation Homecoming is go. Begin immediate withdrawal. Complete pullout in 28 days. On Earth, President William Hayes got the message in his office in Washington. He was a tall man with white hair and a serious face. Around the table sat his closest advisors. They want us gone, Hayes said quietly, so we'll give them exactly what they want. Defense Secretary Angela Brooks was a tough woman who had once been a general. She looked worried. Sir, we have over 2 billion people living on other worlds. Moving them all back to Earth will be very hard. We've been planning for this day, Hayes said. Our people knew this might happen. Most of them want to come home anyway. What about our factories and mines and research stations? Asked Secretary Brooks. Hayes smiled, but it was not a happy smile. The aliens want us to leave. They never said we had to leave anything behind for them to use. Space Secretary Helen Adams understood what the president meant. Operation Homecoming includes taking everything we can and destroying what we can't take. That's right, Hayes said. If they don't want us in their galaxy, then they don't get to use the things we built. The message went out to every human world, space station, and ship. Colony governors, ship captains, factory managers, and research team leaders all got the same order. Come home. Bring everything you can. Leave nothing useful behind. On the mining world of New Denver, Governor Peter Clark read the message and sighed. His world produced the rare metals that powered most of the galaxy's computers. Without these metals, many alien civilizations would have to go back to older, slower technology. How long to evacuate everyone? He asked his assistant. 26 days if we work around the clock, she replied. Do it, and make sure the mining robots are set to self-destruct after we leave. If we can't have these mines, nobody can. Similar conversations happened all across human space. Factory owners programmed their machines to break down after the humans left. Research scientists copied their data and then wiped the computers clean. Military commanders planted charges in their bases, ready to blow them up when the last human ship left. Jake Morrison and Admiral Carter reached Earth 3 days after the council meeting. They landed at the spaceport outside Washington and went straight to see President Hayes. How are they taking it? Hayes asked. Better than I expected, Jake replied. Most aliens think we'll beg them to change their minds. They don't understand that we saw this coming. Good, Hayes said. Let them think we're defeated. In a few months, they'll learn what the galaxy is like without humans to help them. Admiral Carter looked at the star maps on the wall. Red pins showed where human colonies were. Blue pins showed alien worlds that depended on human protection or trade. Sir, she said, when our patrol fleets come home, pirates will attack those trade routes within weeks. Not our problem anymore, Hayes replied. The council made that very clear. Outside, the first evacuation ships were landing. They brought families from the outer colonies, along with whatever they could carry. More. Ships launched every hour, heading back to get more people and equipment. The Great Withdrawal had begun. Humanity was coming home. Dr. Richard Palmer stood by the big window of Research Station Kepler. He watched the last transport ship disappear into the stars. The ship carried the final group of human scientists back to Earth. Now he was alone with just a few maintenance workers who would leave tomorrow. Palmer had spent 15 years on this station. It floated in space between 3 star systems, perfectly placed to study the plants and animals of many different worlds. The station held the biggest collection of biological data in the galaxy. The alien scientists arrived this morning, said Karen Young, his assistant. She was packing the last of their personal things into boxes. They seemed confused about the computer files. Palmer smiled, but he did not look happy. They think they'll just take over where we left off. They don't understand how much work we did here. The station's main computer held information about 10 million different life forms. Scientists from across the galaxy had sent their discoveries here. Palmer and his team had organized it all, found patterns, and made new discoveries. But the aliens would find nothing. Data core wipe is complete, Palmer told Karen. 15 years of research all gone. The backup drives went to Earth last week on a cargo ship. Palmer walked to the main computer and typed in a final command. The screen flashed red, then went black. Years of careful work vanished in seconds. On the mining world of New Pittsburgh, factory supervisor Tony Mitchell watched his workers take apart the huge fusion reactors that powered the planet's factories. The reactors were human technology. Other species had tried to copy them but never succeeded. How long until the reactors are completely removed? Mitchell asked his foreman. 6 more hours, the man replied. Then we blow the power plant and head home. The factories on New Pittsburgh made everything from simple tools to complex starship parts. Without the fusion reactors, the factories would be useless metal buildings. The aliens would have to find new ways to make the things they needed. Mitchell had worked here for 20 years. He had built this place from nothing into the most important industrial world in 3 star systems. Now he was tearing it all down. It's a shame to destroy so much, said his assistant. The council wanted us gone, Mitchell replied. They never said we had to leave them presents. In space, Admiral Susan Davis commanded the human fleet as it withdrew from the Outer Rim territories. Her ships had patrolled these dangerous areas for 30 years. They kept pirates away and made sure trade ships could travel safely. Now the trade routes would be empty of protection. "Admiral," said her communications officer, "long-range sensors show pirate fleets moving toward the Altair system. They're waiting for us to leave." Davis nodded. She had expected this. The pirates knew that once the human ships left, they could attack anyone they wanted. "Should we warn the aliens?" asked her tactical officer. "No," Davis replied. "Not our job anymore." The Council made that clear. Her fleet of 50 warships folded space and jumped toward Earth. Behind them, the pirates began their attack runs on defenseless cargo ships. The biggest challenge was moving the human colonies. New Eden was humanity's first world outside the solar system. 40 million people lived there in cities that stretched across 2 continents. Governor Peter Clark stood in his office, looking out at the capital city. Flying cars moved between tall buildings. Parks and schools filled with families. It had taken 60 years to build this world. In 3 weeks, it would all be empty. "Evacuation ships are working around the clock," reported his aide. "We can get everyone out in time." "What about the infrastructure?" the Clark asked. "Protocol 7 is ready to activate," the aide replied. Protocol 7 was the code name for destroying everything humans had built. The aliens expected to inherit working cities, spaceports, and factories. Instead, they would find ruins. Clark pressed a button on his desk. Across the planet, small explosive charges activated in every major building. The charges would not hurt anyone, but they would make the buildings collapse after the humans left. The spaceport control tower would fall down. The water treatment plants would stop working. The power stations would shut down forever. Even the roads would be damaged so badly that vehicles could not use them. "The Council wanted us to leave," Clark said. "They never said what condition we had to leave things in." Meanwhile, on the research world of Kepler-2, Dr. Amanda Wright supervised the removal of Earth's most advanced scientific equipment. The planet had laboratories that studied everything from new medicines to faster-than-light travel. "The quantum computers are loaded on Ship 7, reported her assistant. "The DNA sequencers go on Ship 8. "What about the alien equipment?" Wright asked. "Leave it, but remove all the human-made parts first." The aliens had contributed some equipment to the research stations, but it only worked because of human technology. Without human computers and power systems, the alien equipment would be useless. Wright had discovered cures for 12 different diseases during her time on Kepler-2. She had also invented new materials that made spaceships stronger and faster. All of that knowledge was going back to Earth. The aliens would have to start over from the beginning. On the ocean world of New Atlantis, underwater cities housed 3 million humans. The cities used human technology to harvest food from the sea and create breathable air from water. City manager Robert Lee watched the evacuation submarines surface one by one, carrying families back to the transport ships in orbit. The underwater cities would remain, but they would not work without human maintenance. "The life support systems will fail in about 6 months, Lee told his engineering chief. "The food production systems will stop working even sooner." "Should we leave instruction manuals?" the engineer asked. Lee shook his head. "The Council expelled us. Helping them is not our responsibility anymore." Back on Earth, the evacuation ships arrived every few hours. Families from dozens of different worlds stepped onto Earth for the first time in their lives. Many had been born on other planets and had never seen humanity's original home. The arrivals were organized and calm. Everyone knew this day might come. Earth's government had prepared housing, jobs, and schools for the returning colonists. President Hayes visited one of the arrival centers outside New York. He talked to families who had left comfortable homes on other worlds to come back to Earth. "Are you angry about leaving your colony?" he asked a woman from New Denver. "No, sir," she replied. "We always knew we might have to come home. Earth is where humans belong." "What about your house and belongings?" The woman smiled. "We brought what mattered. The rest was just stuff." This attitude was common among the returning colonists. They understood that the galaxy did not want them, so they would make the best life they could in their own solar system. In his office, Hayes met with his military commanders. Admiral Carter had returned from the Outer Rim with her fleet intact. All combat ships are back in the solar system, she reported. We left nothing behind that aliens could use. What about the defense platforms? Hayes asked. Destroyed. Every orbital weapon, sensor station, and communication relay has been blown up. Hayes nodded. The aliens would find it much harder to defend themselves without human military technology. Secretary Brooks entered the room with a report. Sir, the industrial evacuation is 90% complete. Our people have stripped every factory of useful equipment. What they couldn't take, they sabotaged. Good, Hayes said. How long before the aliens realize what we've done? A few months, Brooks replied. Maybe sooner if something breaks down. Hayes looked out his window at the night sky. Thousands of stars shone in the darkness. Somewhere out there, aliens were celebrating humanity's departure. They thought they had solved their problem. Soon they would learn how wrong they were. The evacuation continued for 25 days. When it was complete, over 2 billion humans had returned to Earth and Mars. They brought advanced technology, scientific knowledge, and valuable resources. But they left behind empty worlds and broken machines. The Great Withdrawal was almost finished. 6 months after the humans left, the first crisis hit the Altair system. Council Representative Vex Tool was traveling on his diplomatic ship when alarms started ringing throughout the bridge. Sir, we have 30 pirate ships approaching from multiple directions, reported his security chief. The blue-skinned Altarian looked terrified. Vex-Tool stared at the tactical display. Red dots surrounded his small convoy of 3 ships. These were the Crimson Raiders, the most dangerous pirate fleet in the galaxy. Where are the human patrol ships? Vex Tool demanded. They're supposed to protect this trade route. His communications officer looked confused. Sir, the humans were expelled from Council space 6 months ago. There are no human patrols anywhere in the galaxy. Vex Tool felt sick. He had voted to expel humanity from the Council. Now he was about to pay the price for that decision. The pirate ships opened fire. Vex Tool's small diplomatic vessels had no chance against 30 armed raiders. Within minutes, the pirates boarded his flagship. Vex-Tool used his emergency communicator to contact Nexus Prime. This is Representative Vex Tool, he said frantically. We are under attack by pirates in the Altair system. Where is our protection? Chancellor Zeth Ka's crystal voice came through the speaker. The security of trade routes is no longer handled by human forces. The Council Defense Fleet will respond when possible. When possible? Vex Tool shouted. We need help now. But the connection went dead. The pirates had found him. The Crimson Raiders took Vex Tool prisoner and stole everything valuable from his ships. It was the first of many such attacks. Without human patrol fleets, pirates struck everywhere. Trade in the Altair system dropped by 70% in just 2 months. Cargo ships were afraid to travel without protection. The few alien military vessels that tried to fight the pirates were quickly destroyed. On Kepler Station, the replacement research team faced a different kind of disaster. Dr. Keth Var, a tall alien with purple skin and tentacles for arms, stared at the empty computer screens in disbelief. Run the diagnostics again, he ordered his assistant. They had run the tests 50 times already. The result was always the same. The station's main computers contained no data at all. The storage systems are working perfectly, reported the Zephyrian technician. But all the research files have been completely erased. Kethvar's tentacles drooped with sadness. 15 years of biological research from across the galaxy had vanished. Information about 10 million different life forms was gone forever. Can we get the data back from somewhere else? Asked his assistant. The humans took all the backup copies, Kethvar replied, and their research methods were unique. They understood biology in ways we don't. It would take us hundreds of years to collect this information again. The loss was catastrophic. Medical research across the galaxy ground to a halt. New medicines could not be developed without the biological database. Alien doctors found themselves unable to treat diseases that human researchers had easily cured. But the worst crisis was happening on the industrial worlds. On New Pittsburgh, The alien work crew stood helplessly before the massive fusion reactors that powered the planet's factories. Chief Engineer Rolth 9 was a member of the Mechanist Guild, the best engineers in the galaxy. But he could not understand the human fusion technology. "The control panels are labeled in human writing," he told the planetary governor. "Even if we translate the words, the science behind these machines is beyond us." The governor was a fat, slug-like being from Centauri, Prime. His species had made billions of credits from the factories on New Pittsburgh. Now those factories were about to shut down. "How long before the reactors fail?" the governor asked. 6 months, maybe less," Rolth 9 replied. "When these fusion systems stop working, every factory on 3 planets will lose power." The governor immediately contacted the council on Nexus Prime. "We need human engineers to come back and fix these reactors." The response was swift and final. "Humanity is quarantined in their home system. No exceptions. But without these factories, our entire economy will collapse." "That is not the council's concern," came the reply. Similar problems appeared everywhere humans had lived and worked. On the ocean world of New Atlantis, the underwater cities began to fail. Alien technicians could not maintain the complex life support systems that humans had built. Air recyclers broke down. Food production systems stopped working. Water purifiers failed. Within 4 months, the underwater cities were abandoned death. Traps. On the mining world of New Denver, the situation was even worse. The mining robots had self-destructed as programmed, leaving huge holes in the ground but no way to extract the valuable metals buried deep in the planet. "We need those rare Earth elements," complained Ambassador Quill Prime of the Merchant Coalition. "Without them, our computer systems will start failing across the galaxy." But the mines were destroyed beyond repair. The humans had made sure of that. The research world of Kepler-2 faced its own crisis. The laboratories were filled with expensive, alien equipment, but none of it worked without human-made computers and power systems. Dr. Yethka of the Science Directorate surveyed the useless equipment. The humans removed every component that their technology depended on. These machines are now just expensive decorations. Medical research stopped. New technology development ended. Scientific progress across the galaxy slowed to a crawl. In the council chambers on Nexus Prime, emergency meetings happened every day. Angry delegates demanded solutions to problems that seemed to have no answers. "Trade is collapsing everywhere," declared Ambassador Quill Prime. "Pirate attacks have increased by 300%. My merchant ships are afraid to leave port. Our industrial base is shutting down," added the governor of New Pittsburgh. "Without fusion power, we can't manufacture anything." "And our research programs have completely stopped," said Dr. Lethka of the Science Directorate. "We had no idea how much we depended on human knowledge and technology." Chancellor Zethka's crystal form flickered with stress patterns. The other council members were blaming him for the crisis, but he had only done what they all voted for. "We made the decision together," he reminded them. Everyone agreed that humanity was becoming too powerful and aggressive. "We voted to expel them, not to destroy our civilization," snapped General Vorthrex of the Altarian Defense Force. "My fleets can't maintain order without human support. We're stretched beyond our breaking point." The debates went on for hours, but no one had good solutions. They had not realized how much the galaxy depended on human science, technology, and military protection. Some council members suggested asking humanity to return, but others were too proud. They had made their choice and did not want to admit it was wrong. Meanwhile, reports of new disasters arrived daily. A plague broke out on Zephyr Prime, but without human medical databases, doctors could not find a cure. Alien colonies ran out of food when their agricultural systems failed. Entire star systems went dark when their power grids collapsed. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. Humans had not conquered through force or threats. They had made themselves necessary through competence, hard work, and innovation. Now that they were gone, everything was falling apart. On Earth. President Hayes read the intelligence reports with satisfaction. His spy network still operated throughout the galaxy, sending information about the growing chaos. Trade is down 60% overall. reported Secretary Adams. Some sectors have seen complete economic collapse. What about their military situation? Hayes asked. Pirate activity has increased by 400%, Admiral Carter replied. The alien defense fleets are overwhelmed. 3 major shipping lanes have been completely abandoned. Hayes nodded. And their industrial capacity? Dropping fast, said Secretary Brooks. Without our fusion technology, they're losing their most productive manufacturing worlds. Hayes looked at his advisors. How long before they come asking for help? They're too proud to admit they made a mistake, Adams replied. But pride doesn't keep the lights on. I give them another 6 months before someone breaks. The president smiled. Then we'll be ready to negotiate. On our terms. Outside his window, Earth's cities glowed with light and activity. Returning colonists had brought new technologies and knowledge. Humanity was thriving in isolation. But the galaxy was dying without them. The Council's decision to expel humanity was looking more foolish every day. They had thought they were protecting themselves from human ambition. Instead, they had destroyed their own future. 2 years after the humans left, the galaxy was in chaos. Chancellor Zethka stood in his private office, looking at reports that got worse every day. His crystal body flickered with patterns that showed deep worry. The latest report was from the Outer Rim territories. Pirates now controlled entire star systems. Trade had almost completely stopped. Billions of aliens lived in fear, hiding on their home worlds. A soft chime announced that someone wanted to enter his office. Come in, Zethka said. Ambassador Quill Prime waddled into the room. The fat trader's skin had turned a sickly yellow color, showing how stressed he was. Chancellor, my people are starving, Quill Prime said without greeting. The food shipments from the agricultural worlds have stopped. Pirate fleets attack any ship that tries to carry cargo. Zethka had heard this same complaint from dozens of other ambassadors. What do you want me to do? Our defense fleets are already stretched too thin. Bring back the humans, Quill Prime replied. Their patrol ships kept the trade routes safe for 30 years. Without them, commerce is impossible. Before Zethka could answer, another visitor arrived. Dr. Lethka of the Science Directorate entered the office. The tall, thin alien looked exhausted. Chancellor, we have a medical emergency on Zephyr Prime, Dr. Lethka announced. A new plague has killed 2 million people in the past month. Our doctors cannot find a cure. What does this have to do with me? Zethka asked, though he already knew the answer. Human medical databases contained cures for thousands of diseases, Dr. Lethka explained. Without that information, we're helpless against new illnesses. We need human doctors and their research data. Zethka's office door chimed again. This time, General Vorthrex of the Altarian Defense Force entered. The blue-skinned military officer looked angry. Chancellor, I've lost 12 ships this week to pirate attacks, Vorthrex reported. My fleets are falling apart. We don't have enough ships to protect even the most important worlds. We've discussed this before, Zethka replied. Build more warships. With what? Vorthrex demanded. The shipyards on New Pittsburgh are shut down. Without human fusion technology, we can't power the factories that build our ships. The 3 visitors looked at each other, then back at Zethka. They all wanted the same thing, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Finally, Quill Prime spoke. We need to invite humanity back to the Council. Zethka's crystal form went completely dark for a moment. The idea of asking the humans to return felt like admitting total failure. The other Council members will never agree, he said. Too many of them still think humans are dangerous. More dangerous than pirates destroying our trade? Quill Prime asked. More dangerous than plagues killing our people? More dangerous than our entire civilization collapsing? Dr. Lethka stepped forward. Chancellor, I've studied the reports from across the galaxy. In every case, our problems began when humans left. They weren't conquering us. They were holding us together. General Vorthrex nodded. My military analysts agree. Human forces provided security that we took for granted. Now that they're gone, we see how much we depended on them. Zethka walked to his window and looked out at the city below. Even on Nexus Prime, the capital of the galaxy, things were getting worse. Power failures happened every day. Food was becoming expensive. People were afraid. "What exactly are you suggesting?" he asked. "A formal delegation to Earth," Quill Prime replied. "Offer them full restoration to the Council, plus additional territory and trade rights." "You want me to beg them to come back?" "If necessary, yes," Dr. Lethka said. "Pride won't cure the plague on Zephyr Prime. Pride won't stop the pirates. Pride won't restart our factories." Zethka knew they were right, but the thought of humbling himself before the humans made him feel sick. He had led the vote to expel them. Now he would have to ask them to return. 3 days later, the council held an emergency session. The great chamber was filled with angry, frightened delegates from across the galaxy. Everyone had the same complaints: economic collapse, pirate attacks, technological failures, medical crises. "The situation is clear," Zethka announced. "Our civilization is falling apart without human support. We must swallow our pride and ask them to return." Some delegates protested loudly. "Humans are aggressive and dangerous," shouted one. "They'll demand to control everything," cried another. But most of the council members knew they had no choice. The galaxy was dying without human help. The vote was close, but it passed. A formal delegation would travel to Earth to negotiate humanity's return. Zethka himself would lead the mission, showing how serious the situation was. Preparing for the trip took 2 weeks. The Council's finest diplomatic ship was prepared. Gifts were loaded aboard: rare gems, valuable artwork, scientific samples. The delegation included representatives from every major species. But everyone knew that gifts would not be enough. The humans held all the advantages now. The Council fleet left Nexus Prime with great ceremony. 12 massive warships escorted the diplomatic vessel. The fleet was meant to show that the Council was still powerful and important. It took 3 weeks to reach the edge of human space. The Sol system looked different than it had 2 years earlier. New space stations orbited every planet. Asteroid mining operations filled the space between Mars and Jupiter. Defense satellites watched every approach route. Humanity had been busy. During their isolation, a single human patrol ship approached the alien fleet at the edge of the solar system. The small destroyer looked tiny compared to the Council's massive warships, but it showed no fear. "This is Commander Robert Lee of the UES Yorktown," came the transmission. "Please state your business in human space." Zethka personally answered the communication. "This is Chancellor Zethka of the Galactic Council. We request immediate audience with your planetary leadership. We come with offers of renewed alliance and partnership." There was a long pause before Commander Lee replied. "I'll forward your request to Earth Command. Please maintain position at the system's edge while we process your diplomatic credentials." The Council fleet waited at the boundary of the Sol system for 6 hours. 6 hours. The most powerful government in the galaxy was kept waiting by a single human destroyer. The symbolism was clear to everyone. Humanity no longer needed to rush to accommodate the Council's demands. Finally, permission came to enter the system. But instead of being invited to Earth, the delegation was directed to Luna Station, a small facility orbiting Earth's moon. "Luna Station?" asked Ambassador Quill Prime. "That's where minor trade disputes are settled. Surely they don't expect the Chancellor of the Galactic Council to meet in such a humble place?" But Zethka understood. The humans were making a point. They no longer considered the Council to be their superiors. This meeting would be between equals, not between rulers and subjects. The Council delegation transferred to smaller ships and docked at Luna Station. The facility was simple and functional, very different from the grand palaces where galactic diplomacy usually happened. Commander Lee met them at the airlock. "Welcome to Luna Station," he said politely. "President Hayes will see you shortly." They were led to a plain conference room with simple furniture and basic decorations. No grand architecture, no impressive technology displays, no obvious signs of wealth or power. Just a room where business could be conducted. Zeth-Ka felt nervous for the first time in decades. He had expected to meet with junior officials, or ambassadors. Instead, the president of Earth himself was coming to this meeting. That showed either great respect or great confidence. Zethka suspected it was the latter. When President Hayes entered the room, he looked calm and relaxed. His gray hair was neatly combed, his dark suit was simple but well made. Behind him came Secretary of State Helen Adams, a serious woman with short brown hair. "Chancellor Zethka," Hayes said with a polite nod. "Thank you for coming all this. Why, please have a seat. Can we offer you any refreshments?" The casual greeting surprised the alien delegates. Where was the formal ceremony? The elaborate protocols? The acknowledgement of their importance? Hayes was treating them like ordinary visitors, not the leaders of galactic civilization. "We come to make you an offer," Zethka began, trying to regain some dignity. Hayes smiled pleasantly. "I'm listening." Chancellor Zethka cleared his throat and began the speech he had practiced for days. "We come to offer humanity full restoration to the Galactic Council. Your previous status will be returned, along with additional territory rights and preferred trade agreements." President Hayes listened politely, his hands folded on the table. Secretary Adams took notes on a simple tablet. Their calm behavior made Zethka feel more nervous. "We also offer expanded representation in the council chambers," Zethka continued. "Humans will have more votes and greater influence in galactic affairs." When the Chancellor finished his presentation, the room fell silent. Hayes studied the formal documents that Zethka had placed on the table. The alien delegates waited anxiously for his response. Finally, Hayes looked up with a gentle smile. "That's a very generous offer, Chancellor. Unfortunately, we must decline." The silence that followed was so complete that the air recycling system seemed loud. Several alien delegates made sounds of shock and disbelief. "You decline?" Zethka's translator struggled with the concept. His crystal form flickered rapidly, showing extreme confusion. "Yes," Hayes confirmed calmly. 2 years ago, you made it very clear that humanity was not welcome in your Galactic Council. We respected that decision and left completely. Since then, we've discovered that we're quite happy on our own." General Brooks entered the room and activated a holographic display. The image showed the Sol system in 3 dimensions with hundreds of space stations, mining operations, and defensive positions. "We've been quite busy during our isolation," Hayes continued conversationally. "Our population has grown to over 10 billion people. Our technology has advanced significantly. We're completely self-sufficient now." Ambassador Quill Prime leaned forward desperately. "But the galaxy needs you. Our trade routes are controlled by pirates. Our research has stopped. Our industries are failing." Hayes nodded sympathetically. "That does sound challenging. Perhaps the Council should have considered those dependencies before expelling us." "We made a mistake," Dr. Lethka admitted. "We didn't realize how much our civilization depended on human contributions." "That's honest of you," Hayes replied. "I appreciate your honesty." Secretary Adams leaned forward with a slight smile. "However, we're not entirely unreasonable. We understand that the galaxy is facing difficulties and we're prepared to help." The alien delegates brightened with hope. Finally, they would get the assistance they desperately needed. "We can offer limited support on a commercial basis," Adams continued. "Humanitarian aid, emergency repairs, security services, that sort of thing. All purely business arrangements, of course." She slid a data tablet across the table. The terms were clearly displayed for everyone to read. Zeth-Ka looked at the numbers and felt sick. Human engineers would fix critical systems for enormous fees. Human security fleets would patrol trade routes under exclusive human command and at premium prices. Human medical teams would treat plagues in exchange for territorial concessions and mining rights. "These prices are 10 times what we used to pay," Quill Prime protested. "Supply and demand," Adams replied cheerfully. "We're the only ones who can solve your problems, so we can set our own prices." "This is extortion," General Vorth Rex growled. Hayes quote S. Expression remained pleasant, but his voice became slightly cooler. Not at all. We're simply operating as an independent power, exactly as you requested. The Council wanted humanity to be contained within our own system. We've honored that request completely. But you could rejoin the Council, Zethka pleaded. Return to your previous status as members. Why would we want to? Hayes asked, genuinely. The Council has demonstrated that it views humanity as a threat, to be contained rather than a partner to be valued. Our current situation suits us perfectly. The truth was obvious to everyone in the room. Humanity no longer needed the galaxy, but the galaxy desperately needed humanity. Consider our offer, Adam said kindly. Take all the time you need to discuss it with your governments. We'll be here when you're ready to do business. The meeting ended with polite handshakes and diplomatic courtesies, but the alien delegates left feeling defeated. They had come expecting to restore the old relationship. Instead, they found themselves reduced to customers begging for services. As the Council fleet departed the Sol system, Zethka sat alone in his cabin, thinking about what had just happened. Humanity had not shouted or threatened or gloated about their victory. They had simply stated facts in calm, reasonable voices. The galaxy needed them. They no longer needed the galaxy. Everything else followed from those simple truths. Back on Earth, President Hayes met with his senior staff to discuss the meeting. Think they'll accept our terms? Admiral Carter asked. They don't have a choice, Secretary Brooks replied. Their infrastructure is collapsing. Pirates control half the galaxy. They're facing multiple medical crises. They need us more than we've ever needed them. Hayes nodded. But they're proud. It might take a few more months of crisis before they swallow their dignity and pay our prices. He was right. Over the following months, the galaxy's problems grew worse. More worlds fell to pirate fleets. Industrial production dropped to 20% of pre-human levels. Plague spread across multiple star systems as medical knowledge proved inadequate. Finally, individual governments began approaching Earth directly, bypassing the Council entirely. The governor of New Pittsburgh was the first to break ranks. We need fusion engineers immediately, he told the human trade representative. Our factories have been shut down for 8 months. Our economy is collapsing. Our standard rate for industrial consultation is 50,000 credits per day per engineer, the human replied, plus full territorial authority over the work, sites and exclusive rights to any technological improvements. The governor agreed without argument. He had no choice. Similar deals followed across the galaxy. Human security companies began patrolling the most important trade routes, charging premium prices for protection. Human medical teams traveled to plague-stricken worlds, demanding mining rights and trade concessions in payment for their services. Within a year, human commercial operations existed throughout the galaxy, but these were not colonies or territories. They were business ventures, controlled entirely by Earth and operating under human law. The old relationship was gone forever. Instead of being members of a galactic community, humans had become the galaxy's most important service providers. They held all the advantages and dictated all the terms. Jake Morrison, now serving as Earth's Director of Galactic Commerce, established his headquarters on Luna Station. Every day, alien representatives came to negotiate for human assistance. The Altarians want us to clear pirates from the Vega system, his assistant reported. They're offering mining rights to 3 asteroid fields. Acceptable, Morrison replied. What about the medical emergency on Centauri Prime? They're requesting a full research team to develop a cure for the red fever outbreak. They're offering exclusive trade rights for rare earth elements. Also acceptable. Make sure our teams have complete authority over the affected areas. This was the new reality. Humans provided essential services to alien governments who had no other options. Every contract made humanity richer and more powerful, while making the aliens more dependent. President Hayes often stood in his office, looking up at the stars and thinking about how much had changed. 2 years ago, the Council had expelled humanity to prevent them from becoming too powerful. Instead, they had created exactly what they feared most, a galaxy dominated by human influence. The difference was that now humans controlled that influence completely. They answered to no galactic government, they followed no alien laws, They served only their own interests. Any regrets about how things turned out? Secretary Adams asked during one of their evening meetings. Hayes smiled. The council taught us an important lesson. It's better to be necessary than to be liked. Outside his window, the lights of human space stations dotted the night sky. Thousands of ships moved between Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies that were being built in the asteroid belt. Humanity was thriving in isolation, but their influence reached across the galaxy. They had become the power behind every throne, the solution to every crisis, the answer to every need. The council members who had voted for humanity's expulsion now found themselves begging for human help on human terms. They had wanted to contain human ambition and had instead unleashed it completely. As Ambassador Morrison had said in those final moments before the expulsion, "Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it." The galaxy had gotten exactly what it wished for, and now it was learning to live with the consequences. In the end, humanity had walked away quietly when asked to leave, and in doing so, they had won the greatest victory in galactic history. They had become indispensable by their absence. The Council's choice to expel humanity had backfired completely, creating the very dominance they had tried to prevent. Now the galaxy danced to humanity's tune, and there was no going back. Humanity had learned that sometimes the best way to win is simply to walk away and let others discover how much they need you. The lesson was complete, and the new age had begun.